This is TJR, and if you like these essay videos, please click like before the video is over and let the video play till the very end. This helps the YouTube algorithm recognize this channel and recommend these videos to more viewers. Thanks for your support. Brown Sugar was originally released by the band, the Rolling Stones, back in 1971, and was the lead track off the now classic album, Sticky Fingers. While the album credits the song as being by Jagger and Richards, Keith Richards credits most of the song as being by Mick Jagger. In his autobiography, entitled Life, Keith Richards relates an interesting story about the recording of the song as told by session pianist, the late Jim Dickinson. The Stones are at the legendary Muscle Shoals recording studio in Sheffield, Alabama, to record 3 songs. Among them is Brown Sugar. Mick writes the lyrics right on the spot during the session. Gold Coast slave, she bound for cotton fields, sold in the market down in New Orleans. Skydog slaver knows he's doing all right. Hear him whip the women just around midnight. Brown sugar, how come you taste so good? Brown sugar, just like a young girl should. Later, Mick is recording the vocals and he skips the line, hear him whip the women just around midnight. In the control room is session pianist Jim Dickinson with the studio engineer. Dickinson notices this and mentions it to the engineer. Charlie Watts tells Dickinson to tell Mick Jagger that he skipped the line. Dickinson tells him, and Mick is described as halfway laughing as he replies, "Oh yeah?" Mick re-records the part with the line, hear him whip the women. Brown Sugar is now a classic song. It has a smoking hot guitar riff and an intense groove. It is a perfect example of the Stones' ability to mix rock with blues and country in a way that seems effortless. It is a universally loved song, and I have witnessed this song reach out across people of all age ranges and ethnicities by way of their physical response to it. And yet, I can't help but wonder, what if this song were recorded today? Would it be released? Could it be released? Now stop and consider for a moment the song's opening lyrics. Gold Coast slave, she bound for cotton fields, sold in the market down in New Orleans. Skydog slaver knows he's doing all right. Hear him whip the women just around midnight. Now pretend for a minute that you had no history and therefore no love affair with the music of the Rolling Stones. Pretend they never existed. How do you think you would react to this song if it came out today? How do you think you would react to it if it were brand new? How do you think society would react to it as a whole if it came out today? There is no doubt in my mind that if this song were released today by a band featuring all-white musicians, that there would be some public outrage about it. I also think there would be accusations of racism, and it would be labeled as offensive. But I also believe that most of these same people who would be pointing the finger don't currently have any problem with the original song recorded back in 1971. The reason being because it is now a piece of music history. Even with all your history and memories of the Rolling Stones removed, there is no denying that you wouldn't respond to the song's incredible groove any less. It would be impossible not to. And there is a good chance that you probably wouldn't be paying too much attention to the lyrics at first, because you'd be too busy physically responding to the need to rock out to the song. But if you started to pay attention to its lyrics about a black woman being sold into slavery and then being whipped, would you start to feel a bit ashamed that you are enjoying this song so much? Right now, I am going to predict 2 responses. I predict that half of you watching this video will be folding your arms, shaking your heads, and be responding, absolutely not. Because to do so otherwise would be to admit to that very dirty word, politically correct or woke. To do so would be to admit that on some level, you are being politically correct, and this could lead to the realization that perhaps on some level, that there are times when being politically correct or woke is sometimes the right thing to do. So you will deny it and say, absolutely not. I predict that the other half of you will say that it makes you feel a bit uncomfortable now that you've realized what the song is about and that you feel conflicted that you like the song. And after years of living with the song, this is how I responded to it on the day I finally considered what the song's opening lyrics were about. So the first thing that I asked myself, and that you might ask yourself, is the song Brown Sugar a racist song? After careful consideration, I certainly don't think so. And I certainly don't think that Mick Jagger is either. So why then do I feel suddenly uncomfortable about it? I asked a friend of mine who is indifferent about the music of the Rolling Stones and who is a woman what she thought of the song's lyrics. She replied, "It's telling a story about a woman sold into slavery, and that the lyrics themselves aren't racist. So why did the lyrics still bother me? Maybe it's because of the presentation. A woman being sold into slavery and whipped is not a happy story. It is a horrendous accounting of man's inhumanity to man, and something that really did happen in American history. And of course, the raping and abusing of a black woman during this time period is also another known sin of this era as well. It is not something to be celebrated, but to be looked back at with sorrow and sadness for the lives of black women who were damaged both physically and emotionally as a result. Brown Sugar is not performed as sad or sorrowful. It is performed as a song of celebration. Try watching the whipping scene from 10 Years a Slave and play the song over it, and you will see what kind of juxtaposition I am talking about. Now, I have read that Mick Jagger might have had two different black girlfriends in mind when he wrote the song, and that his initial lyrics were, "Black, how come you taste so good?" And that he scratched that, feeling that it was too over the top. Personally, I'm glad that he did. Not because I think it's offensive, but because the poet in me, more often than not, prefers the colorful, metaphorical over the literal when it comes to describing something as raw and as primal as sex in a song. Being literal, in my opinion, is too lazy. I'm glad that Mick didn't take the lazy way out when he wrote these lyrics. In spite of all the hippie peace and love, flower power movement going on at the time, and in spite of the emergence of what would be referred to as the women's liberation movement, women were still being greatly objectified in popular songs. Hell, they still are today. And perhaps Brown Sugar is really more about sex than about any dark, inhumane period of American history. But in this day and age, that might be the wrong way to phrase this question, because unlike the world of 1971, in our current internet age, anything can be released. Hell, with the internet, even the long-winded ramblings of a diehard music fan who way overthinks these things can be released. But I digress. So I guess the way I should be asking this question is, would a song like Brown Sugar from a major artist get released today in its existing form on a major label? I think the answer is yes, but in a somewhat altered form. I think the lyrics would be altered. And not because of record label interference. Labels love controversy, since controversy can sell records. It's just very hard to be controversial anymore in a world where anyone can broadcast anything in the most outrageous way possible. I think instead the lyrics would be self-censored by the artist. As a kid, I grew up in a middle-class suburban Southern California neighborhood. My grade school was probably about half white and half Hispanic. I don't recall seeing anyone black till after grade school in my lifetime. But I do remember hearing the casual use of the N-word in limericks that would be recited by my grade school contemporaries. They used this word because their parents used this word, and I'm sure that most of them didn't even know what they were saying, because I didn't either. Growing up in the 70s, there were aspects to racism back then that we just accepted as normal, that we no longer accept now. Personally, I think that in today's day and age, the artists would censor themselves, feeling that the opening line would just be too inappropriate. I don't think that this is necessarily a bad thing, because being considerate of the feelings of others is never a bad thing. Do I think that the song Brown Sugar as it exists now should be censored? Absolutely not. To do so would be a ridiculous example of political correctness. The song is what it is. It is a very pure and unfiltered musical expression, but it is also, like all commercial product, a product of its time. I like living in a free society, and in a free society, I don't believe in censorship, no matter how much I may disagree with what is being expressed, and especially when it comes to artistic expression. Over the years, during live performance, Mick Jagger has changed the song's opening line from "Hear him whip the women" just around midnight to "You should have heard him" just around midnight. This tells me that Mick's older, more mature self disagrees with his younger self and feels that a little bit of self-censorship is in order. I also have to wonder about Mick Jagger's reaction as relayed to in the story by Jim Dickinson during the song's original recording session. When he is told that he skipped the line, "Hear him whip the women," Dickinson describes Jagger's reaction as a kind of half laugh. Now, I wasn't there, and I can only speculate. But could his reaction have been nervous laughter? Could Mick Jagger have been thinking, even back then, that maybe he had gone just a little too far? Who knows? I personally despise censorship from any government or media organization, but I think that self-censorship can be a good thing, and even a wise thing to do, and it can go a long way in keeping you from sounding and acting like an asshole. I still love the song Brown Sugar, but a certain part of me will always view it as a product from a different era. This is TJR, and this has been a difficult analysis for me to write because I have had to confront a lot of contradictory feelings of my own in the process. I am looking forward to reading your thoughts, but please keep your comments respectful. If you like these videos, please click like, click subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a video. I also want to give a big thank you to my patron supporters who are helping me make more videos. If you'd like to be a patron supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJR the original. If you can't make a monthly pledge, that's okay. Just click like and let these videos play to the end, and that will help a great deal. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.